Hello everybody and welcome to the DSLR Workshop, the show that's all about photography and not about gear, teaching you how to maximize the power of your digital SLR camera. I'm your host Steven Zeller, and in today's episode number 7 by the way, we're going to talk about cleaning your camera. Okay, we've spent a fair amount of time thus far talking about some things that'll help you get some great shots and improve your photography skills and also your knowledge about your digital SLR. Alright, but we got to take care of our gear. If we want it to last the longest time possible, digital, unfortunately, is not like the days of film where you could buy a camera and all you had to do was buy film, and the quality of film that you put in there determined a lot of the quality of the images, and so your camera body could last a really long time. With the advent of digital, though, digital equipment, it's always upgrading. Usually camera manufacturers are upgrading each model somewhere between every year to 18 months, sometimes 2 years depending. So we want to be able to get the most we can out of our cameras, and in order to do that, we got to take care of them. There's some things that we have to take into consideration with DSLRs that we didn't have to worry about as much with film cameras, and the main thing with these is being dust getting inside the chamber of the camera, where the mirror is and where your sensor is. The reason that can be an issue is because if dust gets on your sensor, what ends up happening is you get these little black specks all over your sensor, and they show up in your images. And that's caused by dust and debris, sand, can even be little bits of oil and stuff that get in there and get stuck on your sensor. Now it doesn't stick to the sensor itself, it actually sticks on the shield that's in there that covers the sensor. But what happens is if you get stuff on there, it's hard to get off, and if you're not experienced with cleaning digital SLRs, you got to take it in and have it cleaned. Okay, it's well worth it, but kind of expensive. It's usually about 50 or 60 bucks a pop, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure in my book. All right, and what that is that little piece of glass that's in there is a filter that goes over your image sensor, and that's what actually gets dirty. It's not really physically the sensor itself. All right, so what can we do to protect our cameras? How can we make sure that we minimize the amount of dust that gets in there? Some cameras, and as a matter of fact, more and more these days are coming with a dust reduction system or an anti-dust system. And what happens is like with the D90, for example, which has one, it vibrates that filter. There's a little set of electronics in there, and it vibrates that filter very fast, and it shakes off any dust, and then it collects down in the bottom of the camera. And that helps prevent your sensor dust from showing up on images and stuff like that. But we want to minimize that from happening. We don't want to have to rely on that. So what I do is I use a few simple tools that are really easy to acquire, and I've got several of them here. I'll show them to you and how I use them. And basically what it is just keep the exterior part of the camera clean, and that's going to help prevent getting dust in there. One of the other things that you can do to minimize it is not change lenses in dusty or windy conditions. And I'll give you a few tips and tricks about that. All right, first thing I've got here that I'm going to use is a shaving brush. Now this may sound kind of interesting. You'd use a shaving brush to clean a camera? Absolutely. Okay, these bristles in here are coarse enough to get into the cracks and crevices of your camera, but also gentle enough to not scratch things like your LCD cover or your LCD on top. I wouldn't use them directly on the glass, like on your lenses or your filters or anything like that. But for getting dust off the camera, it's great. And you can pick these up from your local Walmart or Walgreens or whatever for usually $2 or $3. You can buy them from a camera dealer, but they're going to be about 4 or 5 times that price. So pick one up, nothing fancy, just a little shave brush. And all I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to come over around my camera and my lens, and I'm just going to kind of brush stuff off. Okay, any place where I've got crevices, nooks and crannies, just going to kind of brush stuff off to make sure that I get everything clean. And again, I'm avoiding my LCD. It will scratch the plastic if you've got a plastic cover, and probably wouldn't scratch the glass, but I just prefer not to use it. But I go all over the camera just like that, cleaning everything off, getting all the dust and dirt out of all the nooks and crannies that just using a cloth or something like that's not going to wipe off. Okay, so I'm going to do that first. That's the very first thing I do, and like I said, I go all over the camera, all over the lens. Okay, and then I'm done with that. All right, so that pretty much takes care of the exterior part of the camera and keeps all those things clean. The next thing I'm going to do is I've got this little rocket blower, as they're nicknamed, but it's just a bulb, and all it does is blows air. Okay, really easy to use. This is a little fancier one. It's got little fins on it, and it stands up when I set it down. You can't see that on camera. I don't know why I did that, but what I'll use this for is I'll use this to kind of blow out. I'll use this on my screen or around my screen. And this kind of gets into a few places that maybe I can't quite get to with my brush. Okay, so I'll use that to blow off. I can use it to blow off dust and stuff off the lens, get a few things loose, and I'm good to go. All right, so that's the next thing I do. From there, it's time to clean the lenses. All right, so I'll remove my lens hood, which just twists off. And what I do is I start out with a little lens cleaning solution. And this stuff is really inexpensive, as well as a microfiber cloth. Can be had for a couple of dollars each. Some of these come in a drip bottle, some come in a spray. Really doesn't matter. But you want to use lens cleaning solution because chemicals that are in like Windex and things like that, very harmful, and they contain ammonia typically, which is not good. We don't want to use that on our lenses. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a couple of drops on my lens cloth, and on my front element of my lens, I'll just start in the center and work my way out. Now I have a filter on here, a UV filter, and so that's actually what I'm cleaning. I'm not cleaning the lens, but I'll just work my way all around the lens. Then I'll take a dry part of the cloth and wipe it off. Same thing, circular motion, just going around making sure that everything's nice and clean and that I get all the residue left from my cleaning solution that I used. Okay, perfect. Now I've got a nice clean front lens element. Okay, so you can do that. Now, one of the other things that you can do to go a step further. Now, notice I didn't take the lens off the camera. Really, not a need to. But if I want to do some more deep cleaning on my lenses, which I usually do after I've been outside for a long time or on a long shoot, I do that. Now, when I remove my lens, I make sure my camera's off. It just prevents errors from showing up and things like that. Ensure it's off, hit my release on the side, twist it off, and I remove it. Okay, now I've got my camera body on my lens. All right, one of the next things that I'll do to clean my lens is you can clean the rear element just in the same manner that I clean the front element. I won't walk you through that. The process is the same. Use a drop or two of solution, wet side, take a dry part of the cloth, wipe it all off. Now what I'm going to do is, this is a little more extensive. I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to put a couple of drips of my cleaning solution on my Q-tip. I'm going to grab my lens here and I'm going to go around the edge, around the base ring of the lens. Okay, and all I'm doing here is I'm cleaning dust and dirt and debris and even some oil off of the ring of my lens. Now, why is that important? Because you don't want that stuff getting down into your chamber. Okay, you don't want that getting down in the chamber of the lens. Also, when these little pieces of metal grind together, they create little metal fibers, and you don't want that stuff getting on your camera. Okay, you don't want that getting on your sensor, and that's where you can get those oil spots. Was from some of the residue that's left behind, can create that, and then also some of those little metal fibers, those can get on your sensor as well and create nice little dust spots and dirt spots on your sensor. So I go around down there, and you probably can't see it too well, but I'll twirl my Q-tip around here. It's pretty dirty. It's surprisingly dirty considering I've cleaned my lenses not too long ago, actually. So I do that, go around there and make sure it's nice and clean. That helps out. Okay, one of the next things that I do is I'll use the other side of the Q-tip, put a couple of drops on there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Q-tip and see the contacts on the lens. This is where it actually connects to the camera, and this is how information gets from your lens to your camera. And I'm going to take it across those contacts just like this and swipe it a couple of times across there. And what that's going to do is that's going to help ensure that those contacts are clean and that I get a good solid connection. Okay, and I'm just going to go right across there, making sure that I get it good and clean. And I've got a little bit of residue there, nothing too major, but make sure that's good to go. And then I'll usually run my finger over and get any leftover fibers from the Q-tip. Okay, and that takes care of my lens. Now my lens is nice and clean. I can put my lens hood back on it and it's ready for use. All right. One of the other things you can do with your blower and your camera to combat dust is you can hold your camera up like this. And the reason that I tilt it downward is because I want anything that's in there to fall out. Okay, I don't want it to stay in there. And I can just take my rocket blower blow it around the chamber of my camera. Okay, and that'll help free up any loose debris that's in there. Getting into the actual chamber, like locking up the mirror and getting in there and cleaning, is a little more intricate. Something I'm not going to cover here. And if you have really bad dust spots, you're definitely going to want to take it in and have it cleaned, or take it to somebody who knows how to clean it. Okay. I'm going to take another Q-tip and I'm going to put some more solution on it, about 3 drops or so. And I'm going to pick up my camera, and right around my ring where it connects, I'm going to run that Q-tip around there, going all the way around. And what this is doing is this is cleaning those little tiny metal fibers and some of that lubricant off of the mounting ring of my camera. Okay, this again is part of the prevention of not allowing dust and dirt into the chamber. Okay, and so once I have that, then I'll go back around it with my dry side of the Q-tip and clean off some of the excess. And all I'm doing is I'm just helping prevent getting dust and dirt and debris inside the chamber of the camera, which is what we don't want. Definitely don't want that. Okay. Now, I definitely haven't picked up as much here as I picked up with my off of my lens, but now my outside of my camera is clean as far as the mounting ring. I can mount my lens back on it and know that I'm going to help prevent dust getting in there. All right, so that's the basic cleaning process for cleaning your camera. It's nothing too fancy, nothing extremely difficult to do. It's basic cleaning, and like I said, all this stuff. Even the fancy Giotto's rocket blower can be had for about 10 bucks. A couple bucks here, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks for your cloth, and you know, Q-tips are cheap. And it'll help you just prolong the life of your camera, prolong the life of your lens, and again, prevent you from getting sensor dust on your sensor, or at least help out. All right. If you're not comfortable with doing any of this stuff, by all means, find someone that is, or take it to a camera shop. They'll be happy to clean it for you. You know, it'll be a fairly reasonable fee considering the work that they do. They'll go into detail. They'll clean out the chamber. They'll clean the sensor. And I guarantee you that you're going to be extremely happy with the results of having your camera cleaned. All right? Well, that's it for our episode this week. Again, finished up lucky number 7. Appreciate you tuning in. And don't forget to check out our website, www.thedslrworkshop.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/the DSLR Workshop. And be our fan on Facebook at facebook.com/the DSLR Workshop. All right, hope you guys had a great week. Happy shooting, and we'll see you next time. Take care.